I'll definitely make you happy. He grips my hand with a strong force, his eyes brimming with tears as he makes his vow. I respond with a gentle smile. With him, who cares so deeply for his sick mom, I'm sure we can build a warm family. I believe we'll be able to show our great-grandchildren to our grandparents. Ignoring a slight feeling of discomfort, I accept his proposal. My name is Grace. I'm a 27-year-old caregiver working in a nursing home. Having lost my parents in an accident when I was young, I was raised by my maternal grandparents and still live with them. My grandmother is playful but serious at heart, always scolding me if I do something against morals. In contrast, my grandfather has a face like a wise old man, always gently patting my head, a person of great kindness. He was a business-savvy man who built up a considerable fortune, but you wouldn't know it from his demeanor at home. He teaches self-defense to kids in the neighborhood, never raising his voice, even with the naughtiest of children. As a tomboy, I used to wonder what it would take to anger my grandfather, putting frogs in his hat or giving him a homemade jack-in-the-box for his birthday. But it was always my grandmother who scolded me, while my grandfather would just laugh and stroke my head. Being healthy is what matters most, he said. Raised by such loving grandparents, I lead a fulfilling life, both at work and with friends. But there's one thing that troubles me. On a free day with no plans, enjoying my blissful time eating ice cream and watching TV, my grandmother would ask, "Grace, have you found someone nice?" Here we go again. This is her probing question, concerned about my being single. It's become almost a catchphrase, so I brush it off as usual. Nope, I'm too busy with work. Any prospects at your job? None at all. It's all women, and the patients are all grandpas and grandmas. I see. I'm looking forward to seeing my great-grandchild. I'll pass away if you don't find someone soon, Grace. I want a partner and to show my grandmother her great-grandchild, but I don't have the energy to go out looking for someone on my day off. As if to defend me, my grandfather joins the conversation. Don't worry, this chatty old lady is too noisy for God to handle, so he won't call her so soon. Grace, take your time finding the right person. Oh, Grandpa. My grandmother shifts her complaints to him. I slip out of the room, quietly thankful to my grandfather. A month later, a shadow fell over those peaceful days where we could joke so lightheartedly. My grandmother, who was supposed to be healthy, collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. Fortunately, she regained consciousness quickly and was able to come home after a short stay in the hospital, but she was left with a paralysis in her leg. Both my grandfather and I were deeply worried about her, but she continued to do household chores, dragging her leg and saying, "I'm not ready to go just yet." And she laughed. Even seeing her in such a brave light, I couldn't shake the reality I had been avoiding. My grandparents were aging, and their time was limited. I wanted to show them their great-grandchild. After my grandmother's collapse, I became more determined and started actively participating in social gatherings organized by friends. That's where I met William, a corporate employee 5 years my senior. William is a sociable and entertaining elite working for a major corporation, with many friends and shared interests with me. We hit it off immediately and soon started hanging out, just the two of us. William showed interest in me, and I wasn't averse to him either. Then, 3 months after we met, he invited me to a restaurant with a beautiful night view. Filled with nervous anticipation, he said to me earnestly, "Grace, I want you to marry me." Marry? His proposal, skipping past the dating phase, took me by surprise. William gently grasped my hand, which hung open in shock. "I fell for you the moment I first saw you. It's so much fun being with you. and I don't think I'll ever find anyone like Grace again. Ugh, we're both not getting any younger, and it seems a waste to just date halfway. I want to get married and start a family soon. That's true, but I had imagined dating William and eventually getting married, but I never thought about such a sudden marriage proposal and couldn't find the right words to respond. Seeing my hesitation, William released my hand and smiled weakly. Sorry, I rushed you. Actually, my mom is ill and doesn't have much time left. Your mom? His confession was more shocking and serious than the proposal, bringing me back to earth. Yeah, my mom wants to see her grandchild, and I wanted to make that happen. I rushed without considering Grace's feelings. I'm sorry. I know it's troubling to hear this. William. Looking at his somber face, my heart clenched. I remembered the shock and regret I felt when my grandmother was rushed to the hospital. He's just like me. He wants to marry to bring a smile to his family's face, just like I have a hidden desire to do the same. And I understand the pain of losing parents. That's why I found myself wanting to accept him, someone who cares so deeply for his mom. William is a bright and fun person. Together, we could surely build a happy home. With a once-in-a-lifetime resolve, I clasp my trembling hands and face William. Okay, let's get married. William, surprised by my answer, looks up. Really? Yes. Smiling reassuringly, I see his eyes well up with tears. Thank you! Thank you! I'll definitely make you happy. Caught up in this unexpected turn of events, I feel like I'm in a dream. But I decided to trust this man who values family so much. After that, William became incredibly proactive. The day after I accepted his proposal, he suggested we register our marriage immediately so we could have children whenever we wanted. Having been raised by my strict grandmother, I firmly rejected this idea, saying it was out of order. I also harbored a desire to have a ceremony and show my grandparents me in a bridal gown. William didn't give up easily, but he eventually agreed to first meet my grandparents. I had suggested meeting his family first. Mom's not well right now. He gently declined. Though I had agreed to marry him, I felt a bit uneasy about how hurriedly William was pushing things. But when he said with a smile, I just want to be with Grace as soon as possible, I couldn't outright say it was strange. With that little bit of unease, the day William was to meet my family arrived. Greeted at the entrance, William offered his usual, refreshing smile to my grandmother. What a fine young man, truly worthy of my granddaughter, she whispered to me, her voice filled with joy. I swelled with pride. Surely, choosing him as my marriage partner was the right decision. With confidence, I introduced him to my grandfather, who was already seated in the living room. Grandpa, William is here. Nice to meet you. I'm in a relationship with Grace, with the intention of marrying her. Ah. My grandfather, rising from his seat, froze upon seeing William's face, and his usual smile vanished. Leave, please. What? I won't approve of a marriage with this man. What? Grandpa? Not only I, but also my grandmother was shocked by my usually gentle and supportive grandfather's outright rejection. William, too, stood with a stunned expression, having just been bluntly dismissed. What's wrong, Grandpa? What's the problem with William? There's nothing specific. I just don't like the look in his eyes. What? I glanced at William's face. He may not be particularly handsome, but I thought he had a kind, gentle face. Grandpa, it's not right to judge someone by their appearance. Grace, look closely. His eyes, his smile, his mouth, they're all fake. He has the face of someone who's used to lying. Lying? I looked at William again, who now furrowed his brows in distress. Grace, don't you trust me? I just want to build a happy home with you and show my mom her grandchild. His earnest plea pained my heart. Grandpa, William is a kind man who cares deeply about his family. He's very attentive to his sick mom. Then bring that mom here. What? Startled by my grandfather's outrageous demand, William visibly panicked. That's impossible. Mom is hospitalized. Then bring your father. Grandpa? As I protested, my grandfather seemed to come back to himself. I won't approve it. And then left. Sorry about Grandpa. On the way back from my family home, I apologized to William, who walked silently ahead. Grace, it's not your fault. I think Grandpa is just sad about his precious granddaughter being taken by a man he doesn't know. William. His generous response reassured me, but only for a moment. So when are we registering our marriage? What? Surprised, I looked at his face, which bore the same calm smile as always. How about the day after tomorrow? But Grandpa said he doesn't approve of our marriage. Marriage is a matter between the two people involved, right? It's unfortunate that Grandpa doesn't approve, but my parents are looking forward to it. His argument seemed logical, but I remembered my grandfather's arms holding me when I couldn't sleep at night after losing my parents. I remembered his kind eyes, watching me happily as I ate. My grandpa, who was always on my side. I like William, but I can't believe my grandpa would say something to hurt me. It's not that I don't trust him, but I can't shake the image of my usually gentle grandpa's stern face. I don't want to get married like this. I don't want to betray my grandpa. Sorry, but I want to wait to get married. What? William stopped in his tracks at my words. He looked down at me, laughing. What are you talking about? My mom and dad are excited about it. I'm sorry, but just like you care about your parents, my grandparents are important to me. I want their blessing if I'm going to get married. So, I desperately searched for words to make William understand. But from above, ugh! A languid sigh sounded. Old people about to kick the bucket don't matter. What? What did he just say? Stunned by William's sudden change, I stared at him as he laughed and scratched his head. When we're married, my parents will become your family. You're an orphan, naive about the world. Once married, you enter the husband's family. So opposing in-laws don't matter. Anyway, you can't go back to that house anymore. What are you saying? My confusion seemed funny to him, as his smile deepened. His smiling eyes were empty, and only the corners of his mouth creepily curled upwards. Be grateful to my mom. I'd prefer someone like a model or flight attendant, more suited to an elite like me. But when I told my mom about you, she liked you. Being a caregiver, you can take care of her. And as an orphan, you have no one to rely on, which makes it easier. That can't be. William? Ha ha ha! Laughing hysterically, William scratched his head in confusion. Feeling terrified, I instinctively stepped back, but a large hand brutally grabbed my arm. You're not getting away. Let's just go to the city hall now. Enough of this hassle. No! I tried to escape, but his grip was terrifyingly strong. However, in the next moment, the grip on my arm was gone, and William lay on the ground, screaming. Confused about what happened, we both stood in shock until I felt a firm pull on my shoulder. This damn guy! Don't you dare touch my granddaughter! Grandpa? My grandpa, who had pushed me behind him, glared at William with an intensity I had never seen. What the hell, you senile old man? William, his temples throbbing, lunged at Grandpa, but in an instant, he was flipped over and landed on the ground. Huh? Grandpa coolly looked down at William, who laid there looking dazed. Whenever William tried to attack, Grandpa skillfully knocked him down with mysterious moves. While William was breathless, he seemed unhurt. I knew Grandpa was trained in self-defense, but I never expected him to be this skilled. It was like a scene from a comedy, attracting the attention of passers-by. Before I knew it, a circle of people had formed around us, gasping each time William fell. Realizing the crowd, William looked around in shock. "What the hell is this? What's with this old man? Remember this. Never come near Grace again." "Damn it! You'll regret this!" Muttering like a defeated villain, William crawled away. The crowd dispersed as he left. Feeling the tension dissipate, I sat down on the ground. "Grandpa, Words failed me, overwhelmed by emotions, but Grandpa gently stroked my head, just like always. Later, Grandpa had a detective agency investigate William thoroughly. Turns out, William had a history of divorce. The story about his sick mother was a complete lie. In reality, his very healthy mother-in-law had tormented his ex-wife with all sorts of abuse. His father-in-law, who was bedridden, had his care entirely pushed onto his ex-wife, who barely escaped to her parents' home and filed for divorce. This happened just 6 months before he met me. Burdened with a hefty divorce settlement, William and his family saw me as the perfect new slave, especially as an orphan and caregiver. They never imagined a hidden trump card like Grandpa. Grandpa and I used the information from the detective agency and my attempted assault to legally force William to never approach me again, with the help of a lawyer, and we even received a small settlement. William and his mother, to the very end, hurled insults at me, saying, "Orphan like you." But having such parents, I thought it's better to be without them. When I asked Grandpa how he knew William's true nature, guys with eyes like his are never good news. He just laughed and said, "I was surprised that Grandpa got so angry just on a hunch, but he must have been certain William was bad news." Having expanded his company through challenging times and economic booms, my grandfather must have seen a lot of the unpleasant sides of people. Yet, he never let me feel that hardship, always smiling kindly at me. He's truly amazing. On the other hand, Grandma was so upset upon learning William's true nature that I felt sorry for her. "Grace, I'm so sorry. It's all because Grandma rushed you about wanting to see your grandchildren." I gently patted her back. "It's not your fault. I'm the one who couldn't see through him, and you were just worried about me being alone after you're gone." "Grace? Just give me a bit more time, and I'll find someone wonderful like Grandpa. Please live long, both of you." When I smiled, Grandpa nodded heartily. "Yes, Grandma will live to be 100, even 200 years old, just to see your happiness," Grandma declared, returning to her usual cheerful self, making a fist with determination. 3 years later, as I was leaving the nursing home where I work, "Grace, that's you, right?" A familiar voice called out. He looked more haggard and unhealthier than 3 years ago, but I recognized him. It was William, my former fiancé. Despite my obvious distaste, he approached me, looking pleased. "You're still working as a caregiver? I bet no decent man would take you. With no parents and only old grandparents to bring along. Poor thing. You should have accepted my proposal back then." "What?" "But I'm glad I found you. I came here to ask you for a favor." Listen, can you get my dad and mom into this facility? I've been begging the authorities for care, but no luck." "Oh. Alright. If I marry you, I won't have to pay for expensive care facilities. I don't really want an old maid, but I'll take you. It'll be easier for you to care for my parents than being overworked here. And you'll get the status of being married. That rude old man must regret taking away your only chance to get married, huh?" Hey, are you listening? With that vacant look, no wonder I'm the only one. "Grace, sorry to keep you waiting." "What?" A man parked his car near William and me, leaning out the window. Sorry to keep a pregnant lady waiting. Pregnant? William, surprised, looked at my belly, agape. He had been so engrossed in his delusions, he hadn't noticed my pregnancy. Yes, 2 years ago, I met a man Grandpa approved of, got married, and now we're expecting a little life. Who is this man? My husband asked curiously. An ex-fiancé? I replied. And after a brief frown, he smiled warmly. Nice to meet you. I'm Daniel, Grace's husband. I don't know what you need with my wife, but we have an errand at her family home, so excuse us. Just wait! I haven't finished talking. As I moved to the passenger seat Daniel opened for me, William tried to grab my arm. I spun him down to the ground, using the self-defense techniques Grandpa taught me after that incident. Looking coldly at William sprawled on the ground, I said, "What do you want to talk about? I can't get your parents into this facility, but I can warn the director about you, a person who speaks ill of others' grandparents." Ugh. And it seems you're the one in trouble, not me. After we broke up, you tried to deceive a young girl at work, but got sued and had to pay another settlement. Lost your job and now your mom needs care, right? How did you end up like this? How do you know that? His face turned pale with shock. Ignoring William, I got into the car. I have more important things in my life than dealing with such a selfish, irredeemable man. Wait, please! Help me! His pitiful cries faded as Daniel drove away. Did you and the baby have a good day at work, Grandma? As I got out of the car at my family home, Grandma came over, happily patting my belly. Ever since I got pregnant, she's become more energetic. I'm going to the zoo with my great-grandchild. And she eats healthy food every day. Daniel, I got some good fish today. Oh, nice! My boss just recommended a great wine to me. My husband and Grandpa entered the house, chatting happily. Grandpa took to Daniel the moment they met, and Grandma told me he always looks out the window on the days we visit. Grandpa says, "He has a nice smile." Daniel, preparing to be a dad, reads parenting books and cookbooks for our unborn child and me. The precious scene of my husband, grandparents, our child, and me, all around the dinner table, perfectly matched the future I had hoped for. I'm glad I trusted Grandpa's judgment of people. At dinner, I savored not just the meal, but also my happiness.